I think dropping the aspiring act for me was all about deciding to find a small version of the thing and do that and just keep building on that rather than trying to bite off the whole big thing at once.
Mm-hmm. Hey queens. Yeah, you know who you are. God, come on. Go ahead and put that crown on your head. Now tilt a little to the left. Now a little to the right. Perfect. Now let's get to work. Because we know you got big goals. And you got big dreams and not afraid to let them know. Why? Because you step into your purpose. You speak out on your faith. And you shift up in your journey. Because you a boss. Welcome to the podcast Drop the Expiring Act with your host Veli of QueenBayGoals.com, reminding you that you are a queen before anything else. It's your life and your goals. Make it royal. All right, y'all. Go ahead and work that crown. Hey, Queen Bays. Welcome to another episode of the Drop the Expiring Act podcast. Today we have with us Safiya Robinson, who is an author, blogger, editor, story listener. I like that one. And Alice girl from Barbados. So hi, Safiya. Thank you for coming on the podcast with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? I love that. What is a story listener? I love that.
It's just about my favorite thing in life. I love listening to other people's stories, and not just listening to it like, I love to read and I love audiobooks and podcasts, but also like listening, even to my clients when I have editing clients. I'm also a writing coach. So if clients are writing, quite often, especially if they're writing for their business, it's very clinical, or it's kind of like, I do this, whatever. And their stories are quite often missing from that. And normally within that story is like really the key to, why you're doing your business or why you're doing what you're doing, why you're writing. And so for me, hearing those stories, listening to those stories, connecting to other people through listening to their stories is like one of my favorite things. And it works when I'm working. It works when I'm meeting people for the first time. It's just like something I really enjoy doing. And it just makes me, enjoy coaching and editing even more. So yeah, I love it.
I love it. So I want to jump into your aspiring act, because you said you were aspiring from the time this was like a childhood dream. So tell us about it.
So I always, even from like growing up, I wanted to be a writer. I always thought I was going to write fiction and write like epic fiction that was really complicated, and I needed, it's a kind of book that you buy and you need a whole other book to kind of like describe it. Like, this was my dream. It was going to be just long epic fiction, except it never, like, I couldn't do it. I felt like I didn't have enough ideas, and I kind of, it was always in the back of my mind. I wrote other things. I did writing for school. I did fun writing. Like, I used to write song parodies for my friends, or, emails, that type of thing. But in the back of my mind, it was always this thing like, maybe one day you'll figure out how to write this book and it'll all be fine. But it was something that I really aspired to for a long time. But it was only a few years ago that I kind of actually got my head around it. And, probably like most people who have aspirations, it didn't quite turn out the way I expected, but it was really good.
I love that. I love that. So what did you think shifted for you when you finally said, you know what, I'm dropping the aspiring act. I'm going to just go out there and be the full writer that I want to be. So what shifted for you?
So what shifted for me was just kind of stepping back and sort of, I call it lowering the stakes. And it's something that I guess I didn't realize until after I did it. I started a blog. Mm-hmm. So instead of starting off like, I'm going to write this 1,000 page book with, like that type of thing, it was like, okay, I'm about to turn 40. I'm going to write a blog, and it's going to be the 39 lessons I learned before I turned 40. And that was easy. That was like little bites, like, okay, a little blog post here, a little, I was doing 1 or 2 blog posts a week. I probably did about 8 or 9 of them before I shared any of them. And then it was just like taking it bit by bit. And then when I got to the 40 posts, I was like, oh, I keep going. So I kept going. And then I sort of realized like, wow, I've written a lot. If I can write all of this, I could probably write a book.
Right.
And so that was the moment that I realized like, you actually can do it. Mm-hmm. But it took, taking those little steps bit by bit, brick by brick of like building up almost my confidence in my own ability to do it. And in the end, I actually wrote a nonfiction book. So not what I thought I would write at all. But also lots of fun. I kind of discovered that I really enjoyed nonfiction writing when I used to do more traveling. Like when I was in my 20s, I did a lot of traveling, and I would sort of write these big travel logs to my family and my friends. I really enjoyed it. So I was like, maybe I'll write a nonfiction book. And it was good. And after I did that, then I thought, you probably could write a fiction book. And so I started writing fiction books then, but again, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be at all. And it's been a great journey. Like, I don't think I'm not even sure I want to write that epic fiction now, but also I feel like I have so much more confidence that I can, finish books, having finished, a couple of them. So I think dropping the Aspiring app for me was all about deciding to find a small version of the thing and do that and just keep building on that rather than trying to bite off the whole big thing at once.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So I'm going to jump a little bit here. So that made me think that you are in the royal goals list, like your goals are original, because sometimes we start out with these goals that are so big and then we're like, no, maybe we need to chunk it down. But what did you pick was the type of goals that you go after? Because for me, I was like, she's so original. But then what did you pick?
Yeah, I think I picked the royal goals as well, because some of them are original, but some of them are huge. Like there's one goal that I have at the moment, which is almost so huge that I haven't even got my head around it yet. But the thing is, I've sort of learned my lesson now in that I have to find, a small entry point and just do a really small sort of project around it, which was, what I was telling you about before we started recording. Like that project is like the small, tiny version of the big goal that I have. So yes, the goals are original, but I also am somebody who does suffer from having absolutely enormous goals and
I love it.
Just trying to break them down.
I love it. No, because no guests that I've talked to are what we're thinking doesn't match. Like one guest, I said her goals are real, but she was like, no, my goals are ambitious. So for you, I thought yours were original, but I think you also said ambitious too, or levitating.
Yes, they are ambitious, and they're also real. Like they're also the sort of goals that are original, I would say.
I love it. That's the royal goals for me. So you jumped into a little bit of our theme for this season, which is royally F to royally fierce. And you said you were royally fed up. So you jump into that a little bit for us. So take us back to fed up, Safiya.
Sure. So I sort of, so as you said earlier, I live in Barbados, but I previously studied in England and I was living in England. And a friend of mine passed away just in my late 20s. A really close friend of mine passed away, and he was also married to a really good friend of mine. And so I was like, it just threw me for a loop, because he was a young guy and everything. And so I came back to Barbados and I just felt I was going through the motions, getting up, going to work, coming home, getting up, going to work, coming home. And at some point, I just got fed up of that. I was just like, there has to be more than this. I think it was a strange situation because a part of it, like it's gonna sound odd, like there's a part of you that has this fear after you see like one of your friends pass away, like you have this fear, but also you realize like life is too short for this. Like I can't spend the rest of my life just getting up and work, come home. Like that's not the life that I kind of want to have. And so even though I didn't, when I started the blog, I didn't necessarily have everything that I have now in mind, I knew like I have to find a way to kind of get myself out of this rut, and it has to be something that I enjoy doing. And since I enjoy writing, like, let me start this blog. I didn't know where it was going to take. I had no clue what would come out of it, but it had to be more than just the work, home, work. Okay, I wanted more than that. I just wanted to have more things in my life that I enjoyed, and this was my way of bringing it in.
I love that. I love that. I feel like this is like me in the beginning of this podcast. I don't know if you listened to those earlier episodes, but that's how I felt. So that's why I started the podcast. I'm like, I need to stop feeling like I'm just getting up, going to work, coming back home.
Yes.
And that's it. So this podcast came out of that.
Yeah. And it's so funny because you don't necessarily know where it's going to lead.
Right.
Like even though I'd had that lifelong dream of writing a book, I never thought because I never thought it was going to be a nonfiction, but like a personal book about personal stories. I never thought the blog would lead to that at all. I just figured, you'll write these 40 blog posts or these 39 blog posts, and who knows what happened then. But like, I've been blogging now for like over 4 years. I've written the books. I did coach training. I'm a writing coach. I've got other things, and now I've got bigger dreams that came out of just starting this small thing that I enjoyed.
I love it. I love it. So take us to where you are now really fast, because you have a project that's coming up that I want you to share with the audience.
Yes. So this is this tiny version of the big dream that I have. And it's a writer's, I call it a writer's gallery. So if you imagine an art gallery where you go in and you will see like different artists will have their art on the walls and you learn a bit about the artist. This is a writer's gallery. So I am featuring 10 authors, and the project is called Writing Black Joy, and it is 10 Black authors with joyful stories. Not because all of their stories are joyful, but because I really believe in having stories of joy. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. It's going to stop in a minute. Having stories of joy that are written by and that feature Black authors, Black characters, that basically bring, upliftment and sort of encouragement to people who are reading, whether it be Black readers, whether it be whatever, whoever. And so that's my idea. So Writing Black Joy is a writer's gallery. I'm featuring 10 authors. There's at least one poet, there's a playwright, there's a freelance writer, there are a couple of people who've written children books. Like, they're all different types of authors, and I'm going to be interviewing them, featuring their work, as well as featuring an interview that I do with them and talking a bit about their own writing process and why writing these joyful stories are important to them as well. So that is what I'm launching. Well, I'm in the process of putting it all together now, so I'm going to launch it in a couple of weeks' time, towards the end of August. And I want to be able to feature those authors, and I want to be able to showcase the different types of writers that we have in our communities. When I did my research, like 95% of the publishing industry is very monochromatic, right? And there's not a lot of diversity there. And I was like, no, we have so many wonderful authors of different types of stories in our communities, and I wanted to really be able to showcase them. So that is my project.
I love it. And you said you have like 10 authors that are coming out, but I feel like I see for you, like you're doing this more and you reaching like hundreds of people.
That would be awesome. I would absolutely love that. I'm starting small. I'm starting with 10. Ultimately, my hope is to go into actually doing more publishing and sharing of different authors of different types of work. And especially with these joyful and uplifting stories, like that's what I really want to specialize in, because, there's a lot of other stuff out there, and I want this to be out there too. So yeah, I would love it if it kind of goes further than that, and we'll see what happens. But if nothing else happens, that's why I like my small bites. Like I have my project, I set it small, I kind of say, okay, I'm going to do it. And then we see what happens after that.
I love it. So what would you say to the person who still has not written anything and they have that writing bug inside of them and they just haven't let it out yet? What do you say to that person who's still aspiring?
Who's still aspiring? I would say you are a better writer than you think. I think that people have this idea about what it means to be a writer. Like either they, like I did, they have all these incredible ideas, or, you know, there's one author that I spoke to yesterday that I interviewed, and she thought she couldn't be a writer because she was like, my grammar is not great. It's like, doesn't matter. That's what editors are for. Like, exactly. That's what editors are for. And, you know, like I said to her, every book that you read that you love, every book that you picked up as a child, as an adult, that you were like, oh, this book is awesome, that book was edited. Right. Do not believe that what you read was what the person wrote, because that's not true. That's never true. So I think sometimes people, you know, they read these books and they're incredible and they think, I could never do that. You can do it. I promise you, you are a better writer than you think. I absolutely promise you. So that's what I would say to them. Just start, find the tiniest version of what you want to be possible. If you feel like you want to write a book and you can't write a book, write a blog post. There are so many free platforms out there that you can get started on. Mm-hmm. If you feel like you want to, you know, draw a comic, like draw a little strip, you know, if you just pick the tiniest version of what you want to do and just start there and build your confidence there. That's probably what I would say.
I love it. I love it. That's the best advice. So where can we find more of you? Where can we find more Safiya and all the good things that are happening?
Oh, well, so first of all, as I said, if you're interested in either joining in the Writing Black Joy project, if you are a Black author or writer and you want to join in, or if you're somebody who's like, these stories sound awesome, I want to read them, I want to learn more about these authors, the website for that one is www.writingblackjoy.com. Pretty simple. And my personal website is safiyarobinson.com. And it's just that my blog is there. My, you know, I have sort of one season of a podcast that's on there, which was just some of my blog posts that I started putting audio to. So a lot of the blogs on there have audio recordings. If you are interested in working with a writing coach or an editor, you can find out more about it there. And I also have a quiz there. And I love to kind of encourage people to start with a quiz. It's a really fun quiz to take to see like, what's your writing style? Because that's the other thing. I think sometimes people's writing styles don't necessarily match up with, again, what they think it should be. So like there's some people who, you know, years ago, I took this writing course and they were like, plan out the whole book, chapter by chapter, draw a circle, blah, blah. And I was just like, I can't do that. That's just, no. My brain does not work like that.
Right.
And so this quiz just helps you, like there's some people who actually, I call them speakers because they want to write, but they actually feel more comfortable speaking. So, you know, when you see what type of writer you are, then there are just some little tips and stuff there to sort of tell you how you can get started, regardless of what type of writer you are, and what would help you on that journey. So I would definitely say you can find all that on my website. And yeah, I'd love to have you over there.
I'm going to be linking it below because I'm going to need to go take this writing quiz.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Tell me, let me know what type of writer you are. And yeah, I'd love to know what comes up for you.
I love it. So you guys, all the links will be down below. You don't have to go search, and we're going to make sure everything is in the show notes for you. So, you know, we always close out the podcast with a quote, and the guests are given a quote. And Safiya's was, I want to read it right. Sometimes fear does not subside, and one must do it afraid, by Elizabeth Elliot. So tell us why that's a quote that you live by.
Because I think that, and this is something I was also guilty of as well, waiting until you get confident to do something. Like, I want to do a podcast, but I don't think I have enough confidence. I want to write a book, but I don't have enough confidence. Or I want to start a business, start running, train for a half marathon, whatever the thing is. And people are waiting to feel confident and to feel ready before they start on the path. I have found that confidence only comes from doing the thing.
I love that.
So you have to start afraid. Like you don't, there's no other way to do it. If you're waiting to feel like, yeah, you know, like I really like it may never happen. And you may just sit there. And I think that you kind of watch people doing stuff. Like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I was like, you watch people doing stuff and you imagine, oh, they must be like, when really and truly inside, they are absolutely terrified, but they have decided to do it afraid. And so for me, it was just kind of making the decision that like, I'm just going to have to start afraid and gain confidence along the way. And even if the confidence doesn't come, at least the thing is done. So,
right.
Hey, it's all right.
Win-win.
So it's a win-win. So that's why I love that quote, because it's kind of like, if the fear isn't going to leave, don't wait for the fear to leave. You don't wait until you feel confident and ready. Like, no, because that may not happen.
All right.
Just do it afraid.
I love it. I love it. So this was Royally Fed Up to Royally Fairs with Safiya Robinson, guys. Make sure you look in the show notes and check out all the links and tell me what type of writer you are. I want you to take that quiz and write in the comments.
Yeah, please do.
You are. Share it with us because we're going to be looking for that in the comments. All right, you guys,
no problem.
Make sure you come back and you come listen to another episode of the Drop the Aspiring Act podcast. I have more great episodes for you and more great guest interviews. You have been listening to another episode of Drop the Aspiring Act. If you're looking for more information on this podcast and other episodes, please visit queenbaegoals.com. That's QueenBaeGoals.com. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the next podcast.